Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1AAuto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
This is part one of a three-part video, and we're going to show you how to replace the lower intake manifold gaskets on this 99 Pontiac Grand Am. It has a 3.4 liter V6. This procedure is the same for a lot of GM vehicles with this 3.4 liter V6. Okay, here's the tools list. You can see it's a wide variety of different tools to get different jobs done, but nothing is really any kind of a specialty tool. You need a torque wrench and a swivel socket to get to some of the different bolts. Okay, I'm going to start out by jumping ahead here a little bit. Here in this picture, you can see up at the top a finger pointing to the old gasket, and it's pointing to this area of the gasket where it failed. And you can see the orange of the gasket has been compromised, and that's where it's allowing coolant to get through and actually seep down into the engine oil. So basically, what the symptom is you're losing coolant, but you don't know where you're losing it to. And then when you check the oil, your oil will look a little more light brown and foamy, and that's because the coolant is mixing in with your oil.
First thing that you want to do is these are your spark plug wires. You just want to go ahead and remove all of those. Just unplug each of them. I will fast forward as he does this. Now you just want to disconnect those spark plug wires. There's a clip up there. You just want to pull that off. And then you just want to remove that hose from the top and that hose as well. And on this clip right here, you'll see there's a 10mm bolt. Just go ahead and remove that. Okay, now what you want to do is loosen up the clamp on the air intake hose. So using a flat blade screwdriver, just loosen up the bolts on those two clamps. And with those loosened up, you can pull the hose off. You're just going to want to pull that back and away. And now disconnect the hose connected to the top of that and the harness on the side and pull it free and away. Now as you can see right here, there's two 13mm bolts, one up at the top corner and one diagonally across from it, and you just want to go ahead and remove those. Okay, next what you want to do is remove the bolts that secure the coil pack. There's actually different size bolts. The top two are 10mm and the bottom two on the back there are 13mm. You just want to go ahead and remove those. Now using a pair of pliers, you just want to grip that clip and slide it back on the hose. And then you just want to use a flat blade screwdriver to pry that hose off.
Now there are two 7mm bolts. They're coming in from the side or from the back into that sensor, so remove those.
Now with those bolts removed, you can just disconnect the harness on the bottom and pull that up and out, and then using a flat blade screwdriver just pry that hose off. Here. Now on either side of the EGR you can see that there's two 10mm bolts. Just want to go ahead and remove those. Now what you want to do is remove this upper intake plenum, and what you're going to need is a 10mm socket to remove the 10mm bolts, and then there's one 13mm nut right there. And you just want to go ahead and remove all those. Now you just want to remove this 10mm bolt right here. Now you just want to remove the cap on your radiator overflow bottle. And then you want to take a drip pan and slide it underneath the engine. Right underneath these hoses right here. Just want to take some pliers, push those clamps, slide them back on the hose, and then we're going to take a flat blade screwdriver and we're just going to pry that hose back and off. And it's important to disconnect these hoses. You're going to see a lot of coolant comes out, that's why the drip pan's under there. And we actually leave the screwdriver in there to help drain all this coolant. However, there is an easier way to drain this coolant. In our case, this is how we had to do it, and you can do it this way. But what you should do to drain your coolant quicker, as you can see, there's actually a bolt right there. And you just want to loosen that up and drain the coolant that way. Ours is actually broken, so we didn't have a choice. But once the coolant's pretty much drained out, you still want to make sure those hoses are pried off. And then you can just pull that hose free and that hose free. Next thing you want to do is just lift this up, and we can just set that aside. And then you want to just remove these gaskets. Our new kit comes with new ones, so we won't be needing those. And you just want to disconnect this connector.
10mm.
Okay, and right here you can see that there's two 10mm bolts. You want to go ahead and remove those. Now what you want to do is you want to just vacuum out that top of the engine there. Get all the dirt and stuff that builds up in there. Now what you want to do is, using a pry bar, just pry up carefully. And you just want to pry the fuel injectors up and out. Once you've pried them enough, you should be able to just lift them out. Now you can see right here there's a 13mm nut, and you want to just go ahead and remove that. Now back to the fuel injectors. You want to just disconnect. There's a harness connecting each one. You want to just press on the tab and pull those free. The tab right there. We'll fast forward as he does the others. And now this should just lift up. You should be able to set it aside. Now at the front of the engine, you can see there's two 8mm, that's a 8mm bolt and an 8mm nut. You want to go ahead and remove those. Now you just want to use a flat blade screwdriver to loosen up this clamp on the hose here. And once that's loosened, make sure you have a drip pan underneath there, and you just want to pull up. And the coolant, there will be some coolant coming out. Now what you want to do is just pull the hose outward to free it, and then you just want to set that up over on the other side of the dipstick. Now using pliers, you want to just push the two parts of the clip together and slide it back. And then you want to do that again. There's a similar clip right down here. You want to do the same thing. Just push the two parts of the clip together and slide the ring back. Now you can detach both of those. You may need a screwdriver to help pry them apart. Now on the other side of the engine, down here is your tensioner. You want to stick a 3/8 inch ratchet, just the ratchet itself, and you want to stick that down inside the tensioner. And then we use a piece of pipe here for extra leverage. And you just want to push that back, and you can pull the serpentine belt free. And before we start working on the alternator, you want to just disconnect your negative battery cable here. Now on the alternator, there is two 15mm bolts, one there and then one right back there. There's this nut right here you also want to remove, also 15mm. Now with those bolts and that nut removed, you can lift the alternator up and out. And back here there's a harness. You want to disconnect that clip and then pull this rubber boot off, and you'll see there's actually a bolt in there. And you want to go ahead and just remove that. It's 13mm. And once you've removed that, you can just lift your alternator up and out. Okay, now what you want to do, there is a 15mm bolt right there underneath the idler pulley, and then there is another 15mm bolt right back here, and you want to just go ahead and remove those. Now what you want to do is just remove this 16mm bolt here, and after you get that out of the way, that whole tensioner assembly will just come off. Now right here you can see there are four 8mm bolts on the front here, and on the back side there's another 4 bolts in the same spots, and you just want to go ahead and remove those. With those bolts out, you can now remove those valve covers. Just pull them right up and out, and make sure you take that gasket too. Okay, and you want to remove the back valve cover also. Because of all the harnesses and the coil pack there, it definitely helps right here to have another person to just hold all that stuff back. Okay, and now in your power steering pulley, back behind it there are 3 13mm bolts, and if you turn it, you can see through those circles there and you can get it. It's a little difficult to get to at first, so what you want to do is just remove this box by pulling that bracket forward. You can pull that box up and out and just set it aside. Now to get to the final bolt behind the power steering pulley, you need to remove this 18mm bolt right here. And once that's removed, you'll be able to access that last 13mm bolt behind the power steering pulley. Now what you want to do is remove these 10mm bolts. There's 2 here. And then there's 4 along the top. And then 2 more on the side here. Now what you want to do is, using a flat blade screwdriver, just pry that hose off right there.
Now have a helper hold the fuel injection rail and you can pull the lower intake manifold out. You see some coolant drip down in there. We are going to change the oil later.
Okay, now on these rockers there are 10mm bolts. You just want to loosen up those 10mm bolts so that you can lift the rocker up and pull the push rod out. And you want to do this on each of them. Don't actually take the push rod all the way out if you don't have to. Just lean them forward. Makes it a lot easier. And then you can just, once they're all leaned forward, you just want to slide that intake manifold gasket up and out.
Okay, we'll fast forward a little bit here as we repeat that process on the other side, and we've got the intake manifold off. So we'll end this first part, and if you want to see the rest, go to the same video for part 2. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.